Hi students, today I'm looking at, a practice paper from one of the school called Tanjong Katong. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run through these questions, okay, so that you can actually watch this video and do it together with me. And yeah, before your WA2 that is coming up next Tuesday, okay, 7th of May. So anyways, guys, without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, as you can see over here, it says that Mara bought 8 over 20 kg of grapes. Okay, so that is the first part. We're just gonna say that bought is basically equals to 8 over 20 kg. And she gave, all right, so she gave how much? 3/5 kg to her friend. So when you see fractions with units, we know that this is a FWU, okay, fractions with units concept. Okay, now if you are wondering, oh, how do I remember all of these concepts? I use an acronym, okay, it is BEP, but, okay, right now, for me, okay, what is B? B stands for before and after. E stands for equating numerators, P stands for part-whole relationship, R stands for remainder concept, N stands for number X value, okay, which is something that is not tested in this practice paper, okay, so something that you need to know in P5, but maybe not for WA2, okay, and finally, F stands for fractions with units, and last but not least, M stands for multiplication in fractions. Okay, so to remember, because there are so many concepts, right? So you want to use acronyms, acronyms to really help you to remember them well. Okay, so once again, but right now for me. Okay, now so as you can see over here, this is definitely FWU. Whenever we do FWU, we just have to add or we subtract. Okay, when do we add? When we buy. When do we subtract? Of course, when we give, right? So I know that this person bought 8 over 20 kg of grapes. So she has something in her bags, okay, in her bag. And what she did was she said, okay, I'm going to give some to my friends. So how much is that sum? It's 3 over 5 kg. It's already calculated for you. So the question is saying, hey, can you find out what is left? So from here itself, you can simply just do 8 over 20 kg minus 3 over 5 kg. Okay, when you are minusing something like that, you want to make sure that the denominator is the same. So we are just going to times 4 to this, and we are just going to times 4 to this, right? So as you can see over here, it's 8 over 20 kg minus away 12 over 20 kg. Okay, but now I am faced with an issue. What issue is that? Is that 8 over 20, you cannot do 8 over 20 minus 12 over 20. So what should we do? Okay, very simple. Okay, here's what we are going to do. We can either turn this into an improper fraction, okay, which is something that most of you would do. Okay, so I'm just going to go with that first. 2 times 20, 40, 40 plus 8, that gives me 48 over 20 kg. As you can see over here, whenever we subtract, we have to remember that it is big minus small. Right, so now you got to 48 over 20 minus 12 over 20. Remember, when you add or you subtract in fraction, okay, when you add or you subtract in fraction, the denominator always has to stay the same, okay? Now you get to this, of course, this, what are we going to do? The question wants us to leave your answer as a mixed number, right? So 36 over 20 is basically 1/16 over 20. Now, from here, you can further simplify. Both can be divided by 4. So you can divide by 4, you can divide by 4, you get to 4 over 5. And therefore, this is your answer for this question. Now, let's move on to the next part. As you can see over here, this is what we call a multiplication in fractions. Okay, if I were to write down the acronym, but right now, for me, okay, what is this? This is multiplication fractions, which is the one that I've just circled. Okay, how do I know that? Because there is a mixture of fractions with units and a fraction, okay, a fractions with units and a fraction. So what we are going to do is we are going to first write out whatever we have, okay. Megan had 3 over 8 liters of water in a container. That means to say this is the amount that she had, okay. So we're going to say 3 over 8 liters. Maybe we can write had over here. Okay, so just write down whatever you know, right? A wise man once told me, right? To really gain clarity, what you need to do is you need to express your ideas by writing it down, okay? So what did she do? She poured out 3 over 7 of the water. Did she pour out everything? No, she said, I'm just going to pour out 3 over 7 of the water. Of basically, in this situation, it is to multiply, right? So we need to find exactly how much did she pour out, okay? So we are just going to write pour over here. Okay, we are going to do 3 over 7 times 4, 3 over 8. Okay, now from here itself, you can see, again, this is, again, fraction, okay, proper fraction. And for this itself, this is a mixed number. So what we want to do is we want to change this to a proper fraction. So 4 times 8, or improper fraction, 4 times 8, we get to 32, right? So 32 plus 3, we get to 35 over 8, okay? So if you can cancel, you cancel. Okay, if not, you can just do numerator, numerator, denominator, denominator. But over here, we can see that 7 and 35 both can be divided by 7. Okay, so we get to an answer like that. Okay, we can see that it is basically 15 over 8 liters. Okay, so 15 over 8 liters was poured out. Yay, we found out how much exactly was poured out, okay? And they said that there was some left in the container. So we are going to say left. Okay, how do I find what is left? Let's say if today I have 10, I pour out 2. What am I left with? I left with 8, right? The process is to minus. Isn't that true? So to pour means to minus, right? So over here, you can see now this multiplication in fractions, because I've already multiplied, it became a fractions with units, right? So when it is a fractions with units, all we need to do is to just subtract or we add, right? Depending on what the question is asking, isn't it? True. So we are going to find what is left. We are just going to do 4, 3 over 8 liters minus away 15 over 8 liters. We are very, very fortunate that the denominator is the same, but I have a mixed number and an improper fraction. So what I want to do is I want to quickly, okay, turn this into an improper first. Okay, I think this will be the easiest for you guys, okay, and then you are going to minus and you get to 20 over 8 liters. Of course, we are going to change this to a mixed number, right? So how do I change 20 over 8 liters? It will basically be 2 something over 8, right? So over here is 4 over 8. And of course, you want to reduce this to 1 over 2 liters. And therefore, this is your answer for this question. Now we move on to the next one. As you can see over here, it is to ask, or it is asking you to find the area of the triangle ABC as shown in the figure. Now, as you can see over here, this triangle ABC, let me just maybe, highlight the triangle so that you can see, right? There are 3 types of triangle. You either have a mountain triangle that looks something like this, whereby the height is over here, the base is over here. Okay, so this is called a mountain triangle. We have a right angle triangle. I think this is pretty obvious to you. And of course, in this situation, we have something called a slanted triangle. A slanted triangle whereby we are asked or we are tasked to extend and then we are going to find our height. Isn't that true? Now, over here, they want us to find the area of the triangle ABC. So this is the part that we are talking about. What are we going to do? We are going to first ask ourselves, what is the base? The base is basically this. What is the height? The height is basically this. So we are just simply going to do half times base times height. Okay, we are going to simply do half times base, which is 17. What is the height? The height is 7. Okay, so we can first do 17 times 7, and then when we divide by 2, we get to an answer of 59.5 centimeters square. And I believe this is a question that most of you can solve. Now we move on to the next one. In this situation, this is a ratio question. But what exactly in ratio? Whenever we talk about age, right, it will usually be constant difference. Okay, it will usually, not all the time, but most of the time, it will be about constant difference. Okay, so as you can see over here, we are just going to write out whatever we know first. Okay, Jason's age to mother's age is 2:5 this year. Okay, 7 years later. Wow, what is the meaning of 7 years later? So this is my now. Okay, 7 years later, his mother's age will be 52. So 7 years later, okay, we don't know the ratio, but we know that the mother's age will be 52. So are we able to find the mother's age now? We can, right? Okay, so the mother's age now, 7 years later is 52. So mother's age now has to be 52 minus 7. Isn't that true? So when we do 52 minus 7, we get to 45. This basically means that this is actually equals to 45 years old. So what we can confidently write down is that 5 units is equals to 45. 1 unit is actually equals to 9 years old. And we read the question because Mr. Greenman is out. The question says, what is Jason's age this year? So this year basically referring to now, right? Jason's age now has to be 18 years old. Why is that so? Because Jason's age now, I cast my eyes on Jason's ratio. As you can see over here, that is basically 2 units. And therefore, it is 18 years old. Now, we move on to the next question. As you can see over here, all right, the word remaining is over there. Okay, what else? We have a fraction. So, of course, when you see something like that, well, you can say that this is a remainder concept. Isn't that true? Now, this person, okay, has a collection of 240 DC comic stickers. So what we want to do is we want to say 240 is my total, okay? Now, a lot of you will think, oh yeah, 240, so is this a type C? No, this is not a type C. You must always remember, a type C starts with a whole number. Yes, that is true. That is true. I know this question starts with a whole number, but a type C's whole number has to be a part. So if this 240 is a part, then yes, we will take this as a remainder concept type C. So in this situation, it is not, because the 240 is the total, right? If I can draw a number bomb for you, it will look something like that. 240 is a total. Out of these 240, we have some Superman, we have some Batman, we have some Aquaman. Okay, so this is not a type C. How is it going to be like if it's a type C? We don't know what is the total. We have some Superman, we have some Batman, we have some Aquaman, and I tell you that Superman is, say for example, 100. So this is a type C. Am I making sense? Okay, so this is something that you all need to identify, and it comes with experience. It really comes with experience. Okay, so don't give up. Continue to, fight through. Continue to expose yourself to many variations, because in Singapore's math, right, is that the questions are, there are so many varieties. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so your job is to always identify the keyword first, understand the question, then start work, okay? So we know 240 is the total. We can see that 1/3, so we are going to draw 3 units. Okay, we are going to shade the first part, and we say that this part is Superman. The remaining stickers are Batman and Aquaman. Oh, okay. So I don't know exactly what. I just know that this is B plus A. Why B? B stands for Batman, A stands for Aquaman. But they give us a very important sentence. They say the number of Batman is 4 times the number of Aquaman stickers. Now, what does that mean? Okay, it means that Batman is basically 4 units and Aquaman is basically 1 unit. And do you remember just now we learned that the total has to be 240? Right? So we can actually find the value of each of the unit, right? Why do I say 80? 8, 16, 24, isn't it? So we can say that 3 units is 240, 1 unit is basically 80. And from here itself, you can see that Batman, okay, let me just highlight for you, for Batman and Aquaman, in total, it is 5 units. And 5 units is actually equals to whatever that I've highlighted over here. Okay, so we will say 5 units is basically equals to 80 times 2. That gives me 160. What you want to do is, of course, you want to find Mr. Greenman, which is my 1 unit. So we'll do 160 divided by 5. We get to 32. Now, once I'm done with this, I want to read the question. The question says, how many Batman stickers does Psle have? So Psle has 4 units of Batman stickers. So we are just going to do 32 times 4, and we'll get to an answer of 128. Now, let's move on to the next one. As you can see over here, this is about area of triangle, isn't that true? Now, you can see here that the figure below is made up of 2 identical right angle triangle. Where exactly is that? This is 1, this is 2. Okay, make sure you note it. I know this is like, oh yeah, it's quite obvious, right? No, but do it consciously, okay? And 2 identical rectangle, 1, 2. Okay, simple. Now, what did they say? They say that the area of each triangle is 24. So this is 24. This is 24. Okay, like this student did, right? This student actually wrote 3 over here. Okay, so let's see whether if that is correct. Okay, so you know that the area of each triangle, which is this over here, right, is 24. Okay, this is actually a concept called working backwards, whereby they give you the area and they want you to find, right? Because we already know that the base is this. Isn't that true? We are actually trying to find this. Okay, this 3 wasn't given one. In your practice paper, I'm pretty sure this 3 wasn't given. Okay, so what we want to do is really quickly just say that half times base times height is equals to 24. We fill up whatever we know. The base is 8. The height is unknown. All right, that gives me 24. Okay, half times 8, that gives me 4. 4 times h is equals to 24. So what do you think h is? H is basically 6. Okay, so this entire thing is 6. Okay, which means to say this entire thing has to be 6, which means to say this entire thing has to be 8. Okay, now, once you're done with that, all right, the question says, I want you to find the area of the figure. Now, the area of the figure is basically everything over here. All right, so to find the area of the figure, very simple. Okay, you can either find it all together or you want to find part by part. What I like to do is I like to find A and B together. Okay, I can just simply put that as area of rectangle. So that is basically 12 times 6. Okay, so when I do 12 times 6, I get to an answer of 72. Okay, now once I'm done with this, I want to quickly say, all right, the area of the figure, so it is also including this 24 and also the other 24, right? what I want to do right now is I'm going to find, so I know that this entire thing is 72, isn't that true? So we are going to next find area of the two triangle. You can see each triangle is 24, right? So we are just going to do 24 times 24. When I do that, I am going to do 24 plus 24, all right? So I'm just going to write that down first. Okay, when I do that, I will get to an answer of 48. Of course, you want to combine these two up together, and therefore the area of the figure, so I'm just going to write total area over here, has to be 120 because I did 72 plus 48. Now let's move on to the next one. As you can see over here, this is a fraction question. It's very obvious to me that this is an equating numerators. Why is it equating numerators? Because of the word equal. Okay. Now, what I want to tell you is this: the moment you see equal, it is definitely equating numerators. Okay, so that is like how when we see remainder, we definitely know it is remainder of remainder. Okay, so in equating numerators, of course, okay, same thing. We are gonna make the numerator the same. Okay, goats plus cow plus duck is actually equals to 188. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to do. All right, I move on to the next part. It says that he sold 1/4 of the ducks. Did he sell everything? No, he didn't. He only sold 1/4. What is he left with? 3/4 of the ducks. How many did he have at first? 4 units. Isn't that true? Because the total is the at first. The numerator is basically the parts. All right. So 1 unit was given away. He is left with 3 units of ducks. So we are just going to say that this is 3 units. Bought another how many cow? 172. So I'm just going to plus 172. And you can see over here that in the end, he had an equal. So we can say that this is 3 units as well, right? Because if it's an equal, okay, it means that they are all the same. And for ducks, there wasn't any, buying or there wasn't any selling. So there wasn't any change. So we are just going to say that this is 3 units too. Okay. Now, the question wants us to find out this question mark over here. Okay, the question says, hey, can you find out how many ducks did Farmer Tom sell? Which is this question mark over here. So we are supposed to go and find Mr. Greenman, which is 1 unit. Why Mr. Greenman? Because they want us to find sell, right? Isn't that equals to 1 unit over here? So what we can do is we can say that for cows, at first, we are going to work backwards and say that this is 3 units minus 172. For goats, it will still be 3 units. Okay, so from here itself, what we can really see is that 3 units plus 3 units minus 172 plus 4 units is equals to 2188. So we are just going to write that out first. Plus 4 units is equals to 2188. Okay, so the moment you're done with this, we are going to apply something called same family sit together. So this, and this, they are of the same family. Isn't that true? 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So 10 units minus 172 equals to 2188. Okay, so same thing. You're going to bring this to 172 over, right? So you're going to say 10 units is equals to 2188 plus 172. Okay, when I do 2188 plus 172, okay, we will continue from here. We will say that 10 units is basically equals to how much? 2360. And we will find Mr. Greenman. Okay, 2360 divided by 10, we know that it has to be 236. The question says, how many ducks did Farmer Tom sell? So isn't that equals to 236? Because Farmer Tom sold 1/4 of the ducks, and 1/4 of the ducks basically means 1 unit of the ducks, which is this question mark over here. And the question went on to ask, how many goats and cows did Farmer Tom have at first? The question never say total, but they just want specifically the goats and the cows. So let's go one by one. Let's find the goats first, okay? So let's talk about the goats. At first, goats, 3 units. There wasn't, in fact, any change, right? So for 3 units, we basically have to do 236 times 3. Okay, so when we do 236 times 3, we get to an answer of 708. That is for goats. And for cows itself, we can see that cows is basically 3 units or so. But cows is not just 3 units, but it is 3 units minus 172 because that is at first, right? You must understand that at first, Farmer Tom did not buy any cows. So from here itself, 3 units is 708, okay, minus away 172. So when I do 708 minus 172, we get to an answer of 536. And they want us to put them together or just combine them, right? You can see over here, at first will then be 536 plus 708. When I do that, I will get to an answer of 1245. 4. Moving on to the next question, as you can see over here, this is again an area of triangle question. Okay, the figure below is made up of a rectangle and two different squares of side 12 cm and 18 cm respectively. Whenever you do a measurement question, make sure whatever measurements you make sure you note it down first. Okay, so we know that this is 4. Okay, we know that this is 12. We know that this is 18. Okay, we know that this is 18 because this is a square, this is a square, this is a rectangle. But I think more importantly is this part over here. What is this? Okay, this is really just because you see the entire thing over here is basically 12, right? So 12 minus away 7, we get to 5. Okay, so that is 5, which is correct. Very good. Now, then we are also going to find this odd little shape over here, which is this part over here. Okay, you know that this entire thing is 18, all right? We always use mirror image. If this is 18, this entire thing has to be 18, okay? We always use mirror image, okay? So you can see that this is 18. This entire thing has to be 18. And we know that this part over here has to be 12. So 18 minus 12, that is the reason why we have written 6 over there, okay? Now, when we do an area of triangle, okay, there are a few concepts that you need to remember. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let me just quickly just write down all of this first. What are the concepts that you need to remember? First one is called big minus small, okay, which is something that, is taught in P4, okay? The second one is called folded, unfolded, okay, which is also, again, something that is taught in P4. The third one is called working backwards, which is something that I have explained just now earlier on. And the final one is, okay, O, which actually stands for overlapping. Okay, now, so I tell my students, right, how to remember this? I tell them, be worry free, okay? One more time, be worry free, okay? Now, what is B? Same thing, big minus small. What is W? Working backwards. What is F? Folded, unfolded. What is O? Overlapping. Okay, so that's how we remember, how we use creative ways or engaging ways to remember concepts. Because if we remember concepts, we make it allows us, or it helps us to trigger our thought process. It helps our mind to think of something, to think of a concept, or to think of a method in the right way. Okay, so what we are going to do is this. Let's ask ourselves: is this an overlapping? No. Okay, this is not an overlapping. Is this folded, unfolded? No. Okay, it's very obvious one. When you see folded, unfolded, most of you, in fact, all of you, all right, folded, unfolded, Is this working backwards? No. Which one is working backwards? Is when they give you the area and they ask you to find what is the breadth or the length, which is one of the questions that we did earlier on. So we are now just left with big minus small. They want us to find the unshaded parts. Which is the unshaded part? This one, this one, this one, and this one. So our job is to find what is big first. Let's find what is big. Big is basically everything over here. As you can see, everything over here. So we are going to start with the first one. Let's call this A, let's call this B, and let's call this C. And of course, yeah, that's it. Okay, A, B, C, yeah? When I say A, I am referring to the entire thing. Okay, which is this rectangle over here. Okay, so we are going to find A first. Okay, how are we going to do that? Very simple. We will just have to do 4 times 7. Okay, so maybe I'll just write big A first. I'll say 4 times 7, and that gives me 28 centimeter square. Okay, now, well, if you want to have units, you have units throughout. If you don't want to have units, then make sure your last part, your answer will have units. Okay, for B, it's a square, so 12 times 12, we get to an answer of 144. And for C is basically just 18 times 18, and because it is a square, so when I do 18 times 18, we get to an answer of 324. So we know that when I add these three up together, we are able to get to the big, all right, which is the total. 28 plus 144 plus 324. Okay, 28 plus 144 plus 324, we get to an answer of 496. Okay, but this is not my answer because this is everything. Okay, our job is to remove away the small. Where is the small? The small is basically the triangle. Okay, the small is basically the triangle. So how do I remove this? Very simple. Okay, we will just find the area of the triangle. Okay, to find the area of the triangle, which is also known as small in this situation, we first obviously have to find out what is my base. As you can see over here, this is my base. Okay, because this is a slanted triangle, we have to extend all the way out. to meet my height at the 90-degree cafe. Okay, so this is my height. This is my base. Okay, so what we're going to do, we are just going to say small. Okay, in fact, we are just going to say area of triangle will then be half times base times height. We know what's our base. Isn't that true? Our base is basically 16. What's our height? Our height is 18. Okay, so same thing. You want to cancel, also can. Okay, and you cancel, you get 1, you get 8 over here. So when we do 8 times 18, we get to an answer of 144. Okay, so now last part. Okay, the last part we are going to do is to do big minus away the small. Okay, big minus away the small. We are just going to do 496 minus away 144. What am I trying to find? I'm actually trying to find the unshaded. I'm trying to find the unshaded. Okay, so when I do 496 minus 144, we get to an answer of 352 centimeters square, and therefore this is my answer for this question. Now we are going to look at this question over here, right? For a fraction question, we have beat Burp for me, or Burp right now for me, right now for me, right? So for this question, this is a before and after question. Okay, so now we're going to write this down. We're going to say that Jerry and Rohit had $160 altogether. Whenever we do a before and after, I encourage all of my students, okay, this is the way to go. Draw a table. You will never go wrong. Okay, if you really practice drawing a table, are there any questions that is about before and after, you will be able to solve it. Okay? Here's what we are going to do. We're going to draw a table. We are going to have Jerry over here. We're going to have Rohit over here. We're going to have a before, we're going to have a change, and we are going to have something called after. Now, so here's what I'm going to do, okay? Listen carefully, yeah? Rohit gave 4 over 7 of his money to Jerry. So for Rohit, I'm just going to use red color. So 4 over 7. And this 4 over 7 went to Jerry, okay? Because Rohit gave 4 over 7, Rohit is now left with 3 over 7. That means to say Rohit started with 7 over 7. So we will say that Rohit is in units. Okay, all right, and that's what we will do. Okay, we move on to sentence number 3, right? It says after that, after what? After Rohit give. Okay, after Rohit is done giving to Jerry, Jerry says, out of my gratitude, out of my thankfulness, I am going to give you something. What is he going to give? Let's see. Okay, he said, I'm going to give you. All right, so that's my change. Number 2. Okay, I'm going to give. Jerry gave 3/5 of his money to Rohit. So we are going to go to Jerry. We are going to minus 3 over 5. And we are going to plus 3 over 5 over here. If Rohit is using units, okay, Jerry has to be in parts. Okay, if Rohit is using units, Jerry has to be in parts. Okay, so this is 3 parts because this came from here. Okay, so just to remind you that this is actually 4 units. Why? Because this came from here. Okay, for this itself, I'm going to show you that this came from here. Okay, so there was an internal transfer going on over here. Okay, so after change, we have, of course, our after. Okay, we have our after. Now, we know that the starting is $160, and you realize that Rohit gave to Jerry. So isn't it true that the total is still 160 because this is internal transfer? There isn't any giving out. Okay. All right. So you have 160 over here. What else can we do? We know that in the end, Jerry had 1/4 of the total sum of money. What is the meaning of 1/4 of the total sum? Of basically means we are going to multiply, isn't it? Multiply by the total sum. The total sum is $160. And that is the amount Jerry had in the end. So what we are going to do is we are going to find that if 1/4 times 160 is what Jerry had in the end, okay, then we can say that Jerry had $40 in the end. And in terms of fraction, we know that this becomes 2/5, which is actually goes to 2 parts, which we know now it is $40. Okay, and because we know this, what we can really do is to find what is 3 parts. How much is 3 parts? So if 2 parts is $40, which is something that all of you should know, right, by now, 1 part is $20. 3 parts has to be $60. Where is this $60? This $60 is actually over here. So I'm just going to write $60 over here. And this $60 was actually given to this person called Rohit. So we just have $60 over here. So what we can do is we can really work backwards, right? Because if Jerry had $40 in the end, he gave $60 away. Isn't this $40 plus $60, which is equals to $100? And you remember that the total still remains the same at 160. So therefore, this is actually $60. How do I do that? We simply just have to do 160 minus away 100. That gives me $60. Okay, so that one is my 3 units. So 3 units is basically 160 minus away $100. That gives me $60. And if 3 units is $60, we will find 1 unit. We know that is $20. What are we going to do? We always have to learn how to move up, 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 up. Okay, now the question is asking us for 4 units. Okay, so we are just going to find 4 units next, which is $80. Where is that $80? This is the $80. This $80 was actually given by Rohit to Jerry. So Jerry actually received $80. So we know the value right now, right? Just now in the question, right? The question only gave us what? Fractions, okay? So this was actually given to Jerry. Yeah? This one was given to Jerry by Rohit. The question wants us to find this question mark over here, which is the money that Jerry has at first. How do I find at first? Very simple. Jerry at first. We will just really have to do $100 minus $80, and therefore we get to $20 for Jerry at first, and this is your answer for this question. This is a patterns question. Now, as you can see over here, when we talk about the number of squares, okay, we know that these are what we call square numbers. Okay, what are these? Like I said, these are square numbers. Okay, 1, 4, 9, 16. These are all what we call square numbers. Okay, so what I want to do first is, of course, write out that this is 1 to the power of 2. And this we know is 2 to the power of 2. This we know 3 to the power of 2. This we know 4 to the power of 2. And we know this is 5 to the power of 2. And therefore we can answer this and we say that this is 25. Right? Now for the triangles, you can see that these are all multiples of 4. Right? 4, 8, 12, 16. So therefore over here has to be 20. Okay? So the question says the figure in the pattern has a total of 64 squares. Now, when we talk about squares, we are talking about square numbers. Okay, in this situation, because the pattern that I'm looking at is they are all square numbers, right? So we are going to ask ourselves what times what is equals to 64. And we know that it has to be 8 times 8. So if it's 8 times 8, it means that my pattern number has to be, or my figure number has to be figure number 8. Okay, so this is something that I have found, okay, which is, I believe, quite straightforward. Okay, now what I want to do next is I want to solve C. All right, C says a figure in the pattern has 60 more squares than triangles. So this 60 is my difference. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to go about this. Okay, figure 1. Let's talk about figure 1 first. We have square and triangle. Figure 1's difference for square is 1, for triangle is 4, the difference is 3, right? So figure 2, we go with 4, 8, and the difference is 4, so and so forth, right? So you don't have to worry because these are all square numbers, so it's pretty easy. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to jump all the way to figure number 6. So I'm just going to jump to figure number 6, and we know that there are 36 squares, okay? Well, for triangle, there are 24, right? Why is that so? Because you see, as you can see over here, this is just 4 times 1. This is 4 times 2, so and so forth, right? So for this itself has to be 4 times 6. Okay, you see, is the difference 36 minus 24? Does that get me to 60? No. So I'm just going to jump again. Maybe I can try figure number 12. So this gives me 144. Why 144? Because square numbers, 12 times 12. And for this itself, it has to be 4 times 12. And we get to 48. That's minus 144 minus 48. Does that get me to 60? No, it got me to 96. So I know it has to be smaller than figure number 12. Okay, so I'm just going to try possibly figure number 10. Okay, so let's try figure number 10. So figure number 10 will be 100 over here. 4 times 10 has to be 40, right? So therefore the difference has to be 60. And therefore the question over here says, what is the total number of squares and rectangles in this figure? So the total number of squares and rectangle in this figure has to be 100. plus 40. Therefore, our final answer for this question has to be 140. Now we are on our final question. As you can see over here, it says that Diva bought a packet of sweets. Okay, she gave what? 74 sweets to James. Oh, it has the word remaining, so we can say that this is remainder concept type C. Okay, you can see that this 74 is a part of what she had. Okay, so we are going to first draw a block, and we are going to say that this is 74. Okay, we say that 4/5 of the remaining sweets to Charmaine. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we are going to shade the first 4 units. We're going to say that the first 4 units is basically for Charmaine, and she kept the rest for herself. So this is the rest. And the rest is 1/7. And we can confidently say that 1/7 is simply 1 unit. So if 1/7 is this side, the hidden information has to be 6/7, which is actually 6 units. And if I have this as how many units? 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Then this has to be 2 units. So we can say 2 units is basically equals to 74. 5 is the green man. 74 divided by 2, we get to 37. Okay? Now, how many sweets did Diva keep for herself? That is basically 1 unit, which is 37. So we can move on to B. How many sweets were there in the baskets? Oh, so that means that is 7 units. So basically 37 times 7, we will get to a beautiful answer of 259. And that's all I have for you for this paper.